Hi, I'm Connie Whitman, your host, and you're listening to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.net. Thanks so much for joining us this week. So my motivational quote is actually it's a little odd name, but it's by Lada Ray, Lada Ray. And she says, in the highest and purest form, good Feng Shui signifies perfect alignment between inner and outer worlds. Now, do you think that your home or even your office has an energy, and do you think that energy may be affecting you? It could be either in a positive or a negative way. And have you ever walked into someone's space? It could be a home, an office, a store, and just felt so comfortable and at home. Did you ever think why? Well, today we are going to speak about having a luminous space with my lovely guest. And we're going to talk about that luminous space being restorative and nurturing. And it's a place that inspires us, helps us achieve our goals, and ignites our personal power. So my guest is back for the second time, Maureen Calamia, I hope I said that right, in her book, Creating Luminous Spaces. Now, Maureen shares groundbreaking method using Feng Shui and biophilic design to achieve greater harmony in our lives. Now, by tapping into the wisdom of the 5 elements, which are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, we can restore our bond with nature, both in our inner nature as well as our outer world, which is vital for greater joy and peace in our lives. And who doesn't want that? Now, Maureen is a Feng Shui consultant and teacher, an inspiring thought leader in Feng Shui, energy and conscientious. She has written for Huffington Post, Mind Body Green, Elephant Journal, and OM Time Magazine. So please help welcome back my awesome guest, Maureen Calamia. So thank you so much for being on, Maureen.
Oh, thank you.
Am I saying your name correctly?
Calamia.
Calamia. It's Italian. How did I not know that?
Said like a true Irish girl.
Okay, and I'm the Italian, and I so botched that. Thank you for the correction. Wow. So names are very important, Maureen. So thank you for the correction. So let's jump in. First of all, second show, I do think everyone should go back. Maureen and I talked a lot about Feng Shui, to give you some insight, tips on how to create your own luminous space. So go back and check out the previous show. Now, just to get us kind of jump started, Maureen, can you share again what is Feng Shui? And that'll ground our conversation, I think, today.
Great. Well, I love the quote that you started with.
Cool, right?
It was very cool. Yeah. I have to look up that woman, so thank you for that. So I think she put it very, very cool. In my own words, I'd say that Feng Shui is really kind of a philosophy of life. It's much more than our homes and the arrangement of spaces. Feng Shui actually permeates everything, and it's really about our intention, or unfortunately often the lack of intention or unconsciousness when we're doing something. To have good Feng Shui flow, you should have like concerted intention for doing something. So when we set up our spaces, of course, it's more than just, okay, how do I get the furniture to fit in this space? It's what is going to be most beneficial and supportive for me. And there's a few factors that go into that. But yeah, it's all about conscious intention.
And it's so important. And you're right, because when you purchase a home or you move into a new office or your office is relocated on you, we immediately think, how do I fit my furniture in? And we don't think about, is the sun, in my view, or do I have a good view, or do I feel like I'm in a cave? Or because the creativity and being inspired to show up and work hard could be diminished. So talk a little bit about how does Feng Shui actually work?
So there's really, it's kind of that underlying intention or not. So if you just kind of arrange your space and just start working, there's really no conscious intention, and the space isn't really activated with positive energy to support you. So what Feng Shui does is put some intention. Like you may have a beautiful artwork on the wall it's great Feng Shui, but you really want to put even more intention into it that will really magnify its impact. Sorry, let me just turn this off.
Can you give an example? So like I have a beautiful painting in my office, right? That I'm looking at right now. How can I put even more impact into that very inspiring painting?
So it's about how it inspires you in your work. So if you see that painting and you have like a really good feeling, putting even more intention and saying, okay, I want to bring lots of positive opportunities like through that to me into my work, that will infuse it even more. That will bring a lot more positive energy because you are acknowledging the item, you are connecting to it, and you're kind of sending out a prayer for it. So it's really kind of lovely.
The last time we spoke, because I just want to dig in one more thing on that, like a painting, people are like, what? But we talked in the last show that even dormant painting like that, everything in our home or in our office or in our space has an energy and a vibration to it, right?
Absolutely. Everything in the universe has a vibration, because if you think about it, I mean, to get really, geeky, but, everything has molecules and everything is moving. And because everything is moving, there's energy and there's vibration associated with it. So something can have, really positive energy associated with it, or something can have really negative. And well, that's kind of going down a different path, but basically it's important to acknowledge that there's energy in everything. So if you bring in, say, a piece of art or an object from, say, a secondhand store, you really don't know who had that object before. You don't know what the energy is unless you can really tap into that. So it would be really nice to kind of clear it, so that you're not bringing any, unwanted energy into your space. If you also, get something from someone that maybe they have kind of negative energy, and they're, say, they're in your family and they give this to you, and then, it's got that energy associated with it. Every time you look at it, you think of them, and maybe it's not such great energy. We have to be really mindful of what we bring into our spaces, because everything is impacting the energy of our homes.
And it's so funny that you said that, because how many times I just had my birthday, right? So people give you gifts and all of that, which is lovely. But the person giving you that gift, there might be their energy attached to it, which I've never thought of that, Maureen. So that could be impactful. Now I have another question. So I have this item, let's say I bought it from a secondhand store. Do you recommend saging it? Like, how do you boot that whatever that energy is, good or bad?
Right, definitely. Smudging or saging is a very common, popular way to remove the energy, and it's perfect. So the simple thing of getting like a stick of incense, lighting it, and going around the object with intention to remove any negative energy that might be associated with it. It's really more about prayer and intention that will help clear that and create a blank slate for you.
Yeah, every time I purchase a new stone, whether it's citrine or amethyst or whatever, depending on what I feel I need at that time, somebody told me a long time ago, I think probably when I first bought my first stone, and they said, make sure you run it under water, make sure you sage it, so that any energy, because so many people can touch these items, through manufacturing or whatever it is, or the people purchasing them. She says you want to always eliminate that, so that you're truly dealing with the energy of the stone, whatever that vibration that you're seeking in your life, versus someone else's crap that might, kind of be attached to it, right?
Absolutely. And crystals are even more susceptible to picking up negative energy, because they're just almost like sponges. They pick up the vibrations around them. Right. So yeah. Definitely.
So that was a good tip that I learned a long time ago. Now, how do you deal with partners let's say, now my husband I don't have this issue with, but let's say you have a partner that is a non-believer and just kind of like, oh my God, the furniture is fine, and poo-poos you to say, can we stop? What do you do?
Well, yes, that can be a challenge.
Yes.
I often work with, as you could imagine, most of my clients are women, and if they have a partner, sometimes they could be like yours, into it or, interested. That's great. If they're really not, then I suggest to my clients to just kind of do this on their own then, because it will improve their energy and it will improve the overall energy of the home, even if their partner isn't in sync with it.
Sure.
So you don't have to be a believer for Feng Shui to impact you. It's just naturally what the energy is in the space, and it will either support you or drain you.
Absolutely.
Basically.
What? So, and then I want to do some client examples in a minute, but do you have typical suggestions that you give your clients, some basics?
Some basics, really important. I think no matter what the situation is, if it's a house or it's a business, it's what's going on at the front door, the main entrance to the space. It's so important because the front door is where all of where the majority of chi energy is coming from the outside world into your home.
Really?
Yes, it's called the mouth of chi, and it's really very simple and kind of fun to kind of play with this, because if you see that you have any, I call them infractions, but if maybe the light is out by the front door and you keep forgetting to change the bulb, do that. Maybe your house doesn't have a number on it. That's affecting the mouth of chi, your front door, because chi can't find you. Put numbers out there. Maybe dress it up and make it look pretty, obviously. It's just real common sense. And you will see the energy start shifting in your home because of that. So that's like really, really important and very basic that everybody should look at.
I'm cracking up with the front door because we recently moved, and so of course I'm like, we have to put a wreath. Like, we weren't even here a day, and one of the things that we had packed was the wreath for the front door. My husband's like, "Are you out of your shouldn't you worry about your underwear?" And I'm like, "Oh no, we have to put the wreath because then people know that someone's living here, and it looks pretty because it was it was summer actually, so it might have my pretty wreath out." And he just laughs. And then for the holidays, we had to decorate. So for Thanksgiving, I had to have the pumpkin and the what's the flower that's popular at Mums. I had to have my mom pretty color. I have to have my front of the house decorated, and my husband he goes, is this okay? He does it willingly, but he always looks at me like, you and these wreaths. I go, because a wreath tells a story. It welcomes people and says, come in, enjoy. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And really, you're also honoring the spirit of your home too, by dressing it up. And, it's, think of it as like, a pet or a child. It's like you're now, you're the caretaker. So, it's that making that connection to your home. So the front door is the most important part of the whole entire home. So it's just lovely when you place a beautiful wreath and you dress it up, because oh my gosh, you're making such a fabulous one-on-one connection with the soul of your home.
And see, I didn't even know that, Maureen. So I am so smart, right? So thank you.
Yes.
That's a really good example, because I bet other people other than me, right? We put our wreaths out for the holidays. You put the lights around the door with the garland and the pretty wreath. Maybe mine lights up. Of course, I like light in the front of my house.
Yeah.
But I think people take pride in how we decorate our house, and you do it for the seasonality. But I love pulling in my driveway and saying, "Oh, it looks so pretty. Look how nice that looks." So let's shift gears a little bit.
Wait, one
go ahead.
second. Let me
Sure.
just say to you, as you say that to yourself, how does that shift your energy walking into your home?
I smile.
Right. That's the other thing. I'm so glad you brought that up, because not only are you welcoming the chi and people to your house, you're honoring your house, but the third most important thing is that your energy is uplifted when you walk into the space, because it feels good rather than having to climb over, piles of stuff that are like littering your front yard.
Yeah.
And then it's dark and you don't have a light and you can't find your key. And then you finally open the door and it sticks and you have to shove it open. I'm just giving like a totally opposite example, but
Sure.
How is your energy going to be when you finally get in the house? Not very happy.
Yeah, you're frustrated and
Frustrated.
annoyed. Right,
Exactly.
sure.
Exactly.
And then now you're cooking dinner and there's no love going into that dinner, right? Because you're thinking, oh, stupid front door, and I have such a mess, I need to find the time to clean it up. So we go into frustration mode, beat up mode, right? Instead of
Right.
that warm feeling of being home.
And you're probably not even thinking, oh,
Nah.
that front door. You're just in a bad mood
Sure.
and you don't even know how you got there.
Sure, absolutely. And this is so interesting. And I love examples. I always say this on the show, but I love examples because I think people can picture, when I was describing the wreath on my door and me smiling when I see it, and oh, that looks so pretty. And oh, I love the twinkling of the lights at Christmas, right in the front of the house. I celebrate Christmas. So, and people are probably visualizing that and saying, oh yeah, I smile when I pull up to my house, and oh, I like my wreath. And so I love visualization so that people could truly understand the concepts that we're discussing. Now, talk to me a little bit about, you gave me some client examples of success stories of how you help people really shift, right? So I know one client,
Yes.
they wanted to enhance their career. So Maureen, let's face it, a lot of people listening to the show, right, because I am on a business platform, are always seeking ideas and tips. How can I improve or enhance my career? So can you share that example?
Yes, definitely. She showed me her home office, and the home office was in the back corner of her home. So it's not the best to have your home office at the back of a home because it's more private in the back. And if you think about your home as having different levels of a public face and a private face, the front of our house is more the public, right? It's that interaction with the street, with the neighborhood. It's better to have your home office in the front of the house if possible, and also on the first floor, rather than like an unused upstairs bedroom. But we use what we have to use.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
So anyhow, so she had her office in the back, but her door to the office was on this slant. Now, I just want to explain, most rooms, their doors are on a wall that's like a 90 degree with another wall, right? They our rooms are mostly angular with, like a box, right? A rectangle or a square. So when there's a weird angle, the door is on like this kind of wall.
Okay.
And so it's not a 90 degree. I don't know if you can really picture this, but you can see this and say the door is here. It's hard to explain, but if you go back to our old floor plans, older homes, none of them have a door on a slanted wall. You might get a closet here and there, like on a diagonal.
Sure.
But you're not going to get a room. Now in newer floor plans, they're popping up kind of all over the place. So the door is on this slant. So her office is not a square. It's got this kind of weird, it's cut off One of the corners is kind of cut off because the
Okay.
door is there.
Okay.
So it creates a very disjointed feeling. It is known in Feng Shui as unexpected surprises, but not good. It's just kind of like off. So that is going to diminish the energy of her home office right away, having this slant, a door on a slant. And then when she was sitting in her desk, she had her desk in a really good position, which I'll share with everybody because it's absolutely key in a minute. But she also was a little boxed in because I sat in her chair in her desk, and she had a big cabinet next to her with two huge printers, and it was pretty high. It was like this wall of cabinet and printers that just felt like it was really too much energy right there, and it was kind of constricting her, the flow of chi there. So what I suggested to her was actually moving that whole cabinet and the two printers to another area of the office and to open up the area next to her. And she actually put a small, beautiful little table into that corner, and she created like a wealth prosperity corner with this table. It was lovely because that was the area of her office, prosperity. So rather than have all this technology, which also is a lot of electromagnetic fields that are like right at her head level, not so great, we moved that away. It opened all this area up. So there's like freedom of arm movement, and she has this beautiful wealth corner there. And this, and we were able to resolve the slant at the door with it's called a Swarovski crystal. Oh. And you just hang it from the ceiling outside of the door of the office. Okay. And these Swarovski crystals are great in just shifting the energy. But more than anything, it's about intention. So when she hangs that crystal, the intention is to bring smooth, easy flow into her office. And then when she moved...
Go ahead.
And then when she moved that the cabinet with the printers, it was to create like space for her to grow.
And did her space, after working with you, did she all of a sudden have this transformation of business?
Yes. I mean, she, one simple thing was she couldn't find her certification for, something that was really important in her business. Wow. Because I asked her to also hang that up. And she said, I think I might have thrown it out. I don't know where it is. So she, the next day, she told me she was looking. She found the certification. She was able to frame it, hang it up, and everything just started flowing. Sure. She has got opportunities galore. So it was just a huge, a small shift in her office space, but it created a huge ripple effect in her career.
Which is so awesome. And isn't that what we're trying to do? You had another example of another client, and they were having marital issues. So can you talk a little bit about that one? So one was business. Now this one is marital. Yes. And we're human, right? So I know listeners, we have career aspirations or work aspirations, and then we have our home life. So can you talk a little bit about that one?
Yes. So, she had called me because of the challenges with her marriage and was explaining that her husband had been sleeping on the couch for a couple of years now. Very sad. But they have, ever since their third baby was born, the husband's been sleeping on the couch. So the baby's 2 now. And so she brought me up to her bedroom. And in the bedroom was this really large bed, but it had like the child protection bars on either side of it. So it was like, okay. And it was a large bedroom, and it was like lined with all this furniture that was kind of mismatched, like different sets and just kind of like lined around the room. So, I'll do this in pieces. Right away. And also there was it was a piece of what do you call that? It was a piece of wood, but it wasn't finished yet. That was the headboard. So, but she explained to me that she was in the process of creating a headboard with fabric and everything. So that was great. Okay. But the baby bars, obviously is like really, it's sending a huge sign to her husband that he's really not welcome in the bed.
So sad.
And when I said that, she immediately was like, oh, like she hadn't realized she was doing it more for practicality, because when the baby was born, the baby would sleep with her. So it made her feel safe that the baby wouldn't fall out. But in effect, keeping these up for all this time, and keeping the baby in the bed with her was basically like keeping her husband out of the bed, out of the bedroom, and creating more challenge than she even realized. So there was that. Then all the furniture, there was quite a lot of furniture that, as we went through the pieces, I said, what do you really use? She was able to identify a few pieces that she used and liked. Okay, great. But there was other stuff in there extraneous that didn't really belong. So, we said, okay, what's the primary purpose of this room? It's a bedroom. You've got the rest of the house that you could put these other pieces, or you can get rid of them. But I have to say, so another thing about the room was that it was really out of balance when it comes to yin and yang. And we've all heard, or yang, people say. Mm-hmm. When we all know what yin and yang is, basically. It's, opposite, complementary opposites. So it's black and white, hard and soft, loud and quiet, in a bedroom, it should be a little bit more yin. And yin is the softer, quieter, more restful type of energy. Mm-hmm. And yang is a little bit, it's energetic, it's loud, it's bright, it's hard. So a bedroom should be more yin. The bedroom was really very yang. There was no window treatments. There was no area rugs. It was hard surface, a wood floor. There really wasn't any softness. And it didn't feel intimate because it was also a large room. So, just bringing in some fabrics do a whole lot to even making a big room feel more cozy and intimate, Sure. So, but I have to say that the biggest aha moment was as I turned and looked at, what does my client see when she gets up every morning? So, whatever is across from your bed, this is what you see every day. And it's so important what that is, if there's anything there. So it was a piece of art. Okay, great. Piece of artwork. Lovely. It can be inspiring. It can be, very intimate or romantic. What this artwork was a painting of a beach and two chairs on a beach, which, okay, that's not so bad. They went two empty chairs, not so bad. But as I looked closer, I realized they were two Adirondack chairs. I realized that the way the chairs were not next to each other. One was like in front of the other.
Wow.
On an angle.
Wow.
And the image of that was really, really shocking. But as a Feng Shui practitioner, what I always do is when I see something interesting, I'll say, can you tell me a little bit about this picture? And she said, well, she goes, it's my mother-in-law's. And then I got this. She didn't have such a great relationship with her mother-in-law. And she goes, yeah, she was moving and, she was getting rid of things. And I said, I love the beach. So, yeah, let me take that. But it speaks volumes. Unknowingly, she puts this across from her bed. And then I pointed out the chairs. I said, let's look at these two chairs. And she goes, yeah, they're both empty. And I said, well, no, not just that. One is in front of the other. And she went, oh, I didn't even notice that. So here she was having a huge representation of her marriage as being totally not side by side, being totally like disjointed, not together. Sure. And And
Sad.
all of a sudden, it was this huge aha. And I need to put something better there, because that's not what I want to manifest in my life.
So did the husband buy you a huge bouquet of flowers that he was able to move back to his bed?
This is a very new consultation, so I don't have any great news to discuss yet. But the thing with Feng Shui is, sometimes what we get from when we finally dig into the work we need to do about our lives, sometimes we'll get something that's not what we're expecting.
Sure.
So, they could very well come together, but they could very well not, and decide that it's time to split.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how this one's going to turn out, but I think it's really important for people to kind of see the situation from a new perspective.
Sure.
Because what we surround ourselves with is really a reflection of what is in here.
Absolutely.
And
that's what we're manifesting in our life, right? So what do they say too? Look at the 5 people that are closest to you in your life, and that's your level of success or your level of living, right? So if you're always with people who are maybe less than what you're aspiring to become, they say change your friends, right? So it's the same concept that inanimate objects have energy, so it's absolutely affecting us. We're out of time, but I have one more really quick question.
Yeah.
Have you ever told someone walking in their space and go, you gotta move?
I have done it twice in 15 years.
Wow.
But I probably would have had a third time had it not been for a very interesting situation. I couldn't at that point tell the client, because they just moved into this house and they were so excited about it.
Wow.
I felt that I did not want to give them any negativity associated with their house.
Absolutely.
And we worked on some things, but so one of the instances that I did recommend that she move, she also had owned another house that she was renting that was a much better situation than the house she was in. So it took her about a year, but she finally did the switch. And she rented out the house that she was then in, and that was a much better situation, and then moved permanently into the house that was a better Feng Shui. So
it's crazy, right? It's just crazy.
Yes.
But you can't make this stuff up. But the space definitely talks to us. And I'll just share really quickly, we moved over the summer, and we were, should we sell, shouldn't we sell, land was too much, house needed work, all these kinds of things. So we're kind of at a cross point, and we could have certainly stayed. I still loved my house. And I wanted to downsize the land, not the size of the house, because we had a nice size house, but I wanted a townhouse. I did not want any outside responsibility. So my husband found where we knew what development we wanted. They had an open house. So I kind of almost begrudgingly go, all right, let's go. And we walked in, and within 3 minutes, I looked at him and I said, we're putting an offer in. We didn't even have my house up for sale. He's like, what? And I said, this is exactly what we need at this point in our life. We're ready. This is lovely. It was modern. It was only 7 years old. It had everything we needed, including a home office for me, space for the kids. We didn't get that offer. But then within a week, we put my house up. I was like, we were crazy, but we put the house up for sale, mailed to the complex. We actually did a mailing. Someone responded, and we were able to purchase the home literally this all happened within 2 months. It was remarkable. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's just interesting, because when we walked into the new space, like up until that point, I was like, oh, I love this house. Oh, I don't want to leave. And then as soon as I saw what could be, it was, I'm so ready for this. This is exactly what I want. And we're extremely happy here, by the way. So, the space matters.
It does. And you're really open to, when you're really open, you will know when the house is right. It will call to you.
Absolutely.
I had the same experience with this house that I'm in now, and it definitely was like a soul partner that was calling to me saying, this is where you guys belong.
Yeah. It's just an amazing experience. And it was funny because in that instance, when I said, let's put a bid in, my husband's like, yeah, right. And I'm like, let's put a bid in. I said, we have the contingency of selling another house, right? Because I certainly didn't have enough money to purchase a second home without selling my previous home. You're serious? And I said, I'm serious. I can so live here. I love it. It's exactly what we're looking for. So you're right. You just, good for him that he kind of pushed me to say, let's go look, what can it hurt? So I think sometimes we get stuck in our own way about that fear of change and what am I giving up? And then as soon as we can explore what might you gain, that's where the magic happens. So I think everybody should talk to you. So if you'd like to meet Maureen live, first you could go to her website. It's luminous and then a dash and then spaces plural.com. If you'd like to email Maureen, just Maureen at luminous-spaces.com, and you'll be able to connect with her. Guys, I'm also my partner and I are still giving away the free communication style assessment. Just go to wisdomdecoded.com. You fill out 5 minutes, you take a little assessment, and you get a really cool report. It tells you some of your strengths and perhaps some of the blind spots with how you're communicating and how people are perceiving you. So check that out as well. Again, Maureen, as always, a brilliant conversation. Feng Shui, so important. And I don't think people always are aware of just how we position furniture matters versus just it's practical, right? Like having that copier next to the one client, and yet what was it infringing from her creativity and prosperity of bringing in new clients. So again, check out luminous-spaces.com and, again, check out what Maureen has to offer on her website. Maureen, thanks so much for being on. And just cool.
Thank you.
Always a cool topic.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always fun.
Always a pleasure. I hope you guys will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together how to challenge ourselves and just realize that simple changes like Maureen shared with us today can impact our life in such a great manner. Just be open to it. Be open to those change and the different inspirations that I hope my guests bring to you every day. Thank you all for joining us today. You've been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.net. Thank you, everyone. Please go out and have an inspired week. Maybe move a piece of furniture or two. Thanks, everyone.